Hello everyone. My camera is working. That's amazing. I had to restart my computer because it didn't feel like recognizing my camera today. So, glad that whatever totally legitimate issue was happening is suddenly gone after restarting. Cool, I love Linux. It works so well. Everything in Linux is so amazing. I love this operating system. Good thing I do, because yeah, it's wonderful. It's so great. Linux works. Linux works. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to complaining about Linux for about 3 to 4 hours. Um, all right. What's going on with my Twitch manager right now? All right, we're good. All right, we're good. Okay, so here's the deal. Change of plans from what I said I was gonna work on today. Here's the thing. Been working on several different things that are actually starting to come together, such as this and this. Can I not open two projects at the same time? Damn it, Zed. I already hate you. Don't make me hate you more. And also, well, that's it actually. So I've been working on a text editor, and also scripting language in Lisp, a Lisp dialect. So that's been pretty fun. And I can use the scripting language to script my operating system's terminal. And I just got home and it's really, really hot, so please bear with me as I am recuperating from being outdoors. I'm gonna try to not faint right now. And also I have like a fan blowing directly in my face and it's messing up my hair and it's getting in my face and it's really, really annoying. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so I'm using scripting for my Lisp. Lisp for my scripting language. I am using Lisp for my scripting language, not the other way around. And this is what we got yesterday. I decided we would have some fun. So functions are declared with fun. Variables, which Common Lisp calls parameters, are var. These are global variables that exist outside of the scope in which they are declared. Oh my god, this hair. Can I do something about it? I have nothing. I have headphones, but it's just gonna be worse. Oh my god. Alright. Yeah, so var, which is what Common Lisp calls parameters, in which you can write the value multiple times, right? So I write it once, I write it again. Now it takes the value of the latest one. Whereas instead, we have const, which you can only set it once. So here I set it twice, the second time it is ignored. Common Lisp calls this a var. But it acts like a constant value. Although it acts like a constant value, but one that you can assign to, but only assign to it once. That's not how constant values work in most languages, but it is how constant values can work. So that's kind of... Anyway. And it's very weird. I hadn't even thought about it, that Common Lisp. To be fair, like I implemented this yesterday, and I found out about def var, which is const, in Common Lisp literally the night before. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it. But yeah, I hadn't thought about how weird that is. But anyway, we have both of these things implemented. We have functions implemented, which I can define here and use here. We also have the traditional Common Lisp 1.5 label, which allows you to define a lambda, which is an anonymous function, and then give it a name, which, if you put it like that, anonymous function with a name, that's just a function, but it isn't. It only exists within the scope in which you did the label thing, so only within this highlighted part. That's the difference between a label and a that's the difference between a label and a function. Okay. The effects of the heat are lesser, and it's actually kind of a pleasant day today. The streets are also incredibly empty. Oh my god, we should win the World Cup every fucking day. Anyway.
Hamburger.
Hamburger, sì, hamburger. That is true. Agree with that sentiment. Anyway. So yeah, that's what I implemented. And then I was like, wait, I have a vague understanding of how macros work in... Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. My hair is like brushing against the headphone and it sounds... The first thought that came to mind is a cockroach is walking on my headphones. I don't know why, but it sounds like, you know, like tiny little legs walking up. It's just hair, but that was fucking unpleasant. Anyway. Oh, the other thing that I have is let, by the way, which is how you define variables only within this scope. So again, it's different from var. Anyway, macros in Common Lisp, have a vague understanding of how they work, but I was like, let's find out a little bit more of how they work. And I started Googling it. And Google is fucking useless nowadays. I'm not trying to crash out again, because it happened yesterday already. I'm not trying to have it happen again, but Jesus Christ. I was Googling the most basic thing and I could not get a response from Google, or DuckDuckGo for that matter. Didn't work. Didn't work. Like, genuinely did not give me an answer. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous state of affairs with search engines. Anyway, what I was doing is I found out that in Common Lisp, def function, well, sorry, you spell it like this. Define function and def macro to define a macro are actually macros themselves. So I wanted to look at how are they implemented. And I remember that there is something called describe. But I couldn't get it to work. I was doing it like this. Sorry, that's like halfway between the wrong and the right way of doing it. I was doing it like this. Which is fucking useless, by the way. My god, I hate this interpreter. Okay, I don't know why. I don't know why it doesn't work. Anyway, I was doing it like that, or something like that. It used to work. It doesn't work anymore. But anyway, I found out the correct way of doing it is actually this. No. Oh my god. You know how hard it was to actually find the correct way of doing this? Like, genuinely, Google and DuckDuckGo could not give me an answer. I have no idea how I stumbled upon the answer, and now I have forgotten what it was. So it really sucks. I saved the output on my laptop, but I didn't save the actual command that you use for it. So, oh, it was macro expand. Okay, it was macro expand 1 and then defun. What do you mean it's nil? How are they nil? I think I developed a Lisp language yesterday and I completely forgot how to do actual common Lisp anymore. Anyway. It is defun. Okay. How do you do this? Macro expand, then it was 1. Is it like this then? That's not right. Macro expand 1. I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, anyway, this worked on Mac. Doesn't work on here. And genuinely hate this REPL way too much to bother spending any more time in it. So let's just move on. Anyway, I was looking at the implementation of them, and I decided to not do macros yet in my Lisp because it would require a little bit more work. In the sense that macros actually need to be evaluated before anything else. And until I need them, I really don't want to do that. Right now I have the most straightforward, simple implementation of Lisp, and I want to keep it that way. Don't care much for macros, although I may do, I do have quote. I do have quote that allows me to essentially not evaluate an expression. Right, so instead of actually adding 1 and 2, what this is going to do is just produce the expression add 1, 2. Right, so if I run it, it's actually going to produce all of the results for all these things, but here it is. So I have that. I could add also the quasi-quote, which is another thing that Lisp uses, which allows you to do the same thing, but some sub-expressions, some sections inside of that, you can actually evaluate if you unquote them. So I don't have these expressions, so I can't run it, but essentially what this would do is it is going to print this, or well, not print, but like produce this entire expression literally, except for this part, which it is actually going to evaluate. So it's going to take the value of A, the value of B, which is 6 and 7. It's going to add them together. That's going to be 13. So it's going to result in this. This is the expression that's going to be printed out. So I'll do that at some point. But I have no interest in doing separate macros just yet. Another thing that actually I found really interesting when it came to Lisp is that people tend to put documentation for what a function does or how it works here in the form of a string. Not a comment, but literally just a string. And I'm assuming that what is it called? I'm assuming that LSPs can probably pick that up and show you that with the little tooltips that don't work here. But anyway. I can do that, and this is again one of the really cool things of Lisp. Why this language is so simple. Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing here is this is just another expression, another element of this function. Except it does nothing.
Please make your OS crash by filling up the memory with Lisp.
I probably can do that. Yeah. So yeah, this is just an expression that doesn't do anything. The compiler's just gonna, well, the interpreter's just gonna look at it and it's gonna be like, yeah, it's a string, whatever. In C, this would be like the equivalent of doing this, pretty much. I'm just gonna put it whatever. The equivalent of doing this, and it will produce a expression results unused warning, which you can suppress, but the LSP is not gonna pick that up and show you the thing. But anyway, another cool thing about the design of Lisp and why it's such a cool language, it's so simple. It's such a simple language. And yet, it has all of these features that other languages have to go out of their way to implement. In Lisp, it's just the most natural, mundane, almost hacked together feature. It's not hacked together because this is just how the language works. It's by design supposed to be simple, and by just following these very simple rules of how it works, you can make the language work. So you can have things like this, things like this. Metaprogramming being part of the language itself, all of that stuff. It's not hacked together. It sounds like a hack. Just, oh, the first expression of your function is the documentation of the function. Sounds ridiculous. But it's not when it's such a simple language. Or maybe I'm just coping, and maybe it is hacked together. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not going to be adding macros today, unfortunately, because I don't feel like it, and I don't really have a need for them. So it would require this extra like step of like resolving the macros, expanding the macros, and doing what I just did with a quote unquote and whatnot. For no real reason, because I'm not gonna use it for anything. So, yeah, we're not gonna be doing that. Anyway, what are we gonna be doing? Probably either integrating it into the text editor itself. That's a possibility for sure. Oh yeah, actually, that's kind of what I want to do today. This is the closest, by the way, this thread on Reddit is the closest that I got by Googling to finding out how macros work. Because it was such a simple question search engines cannot handle nowadays. That's pretty cool. Maybe this would have been helpful, I don't know. I do wonder, actually, what happens with this. No, I'm gonna go with no. All right. So yesterday, someone linked something about a text editor that was pretty interesting. This friendly editor. First off, interesting name. Second, the link specifically was about this, which visualizes like undo, redo as a tree, which I found to be pretty interesting. Although, I have to say the UI here, like this screenshot is not very clear. Fucking website. This screenshot is not very clear what's happening, but it did look pretty interesting. And anyway, I want to look at ideas for what to do with the editor. Maybe we will get to some scripting of the editor as well. I guess we will see. Writing the editor in Lisp. Okay, so writing the editor in Lisp, no. But scripting it in Lisp, yes. Emacs does that. That's probably the part about Emacs that I found the most enjoyable. I haven't opened Emacs in like 2 weeks and I've completely forgotten how the whole thing works. Oh my god. The UX of any GNU program is atrocious. It's the most unintuitive software on the fucking planet. Oh, it makes me sad. It makes me angry. It makes me disgusted. It disgusts me. It's gross. There is nothing in the menus for that actually, so I have to go and I hate this thing. It's genuinely so fucking unintuitive. Oh god. There. That's what I was trying to do. You only need to memorize the 1,000 most useful keybinds. Yeah, I'm currently at -1, so yeah. Anyway, this thing is so unusable. Oh my god. Oh, it's actually unpleasant to use. That hurt. That hurt to use. I did nothing, and it still hurt to use. Um. Anywho, this is my .emacs file.
Little XL editor is pretty niche. Check it out maybe.
Pretty Nietzsche. Little Excel editor. Okay, so we're gonna be doing some text editor stuff today, essentially. I am going to be very explicit in my search here because that is a weird name. Light Excel. Okay, Light Excel. Light Excel. A lightweight text editor written in Lua. Come on, GitHub, you can handle this. You can open the website. Come on, GitHub. Come on, GitHub. Anyway, let's look at their website while GitHub decides to maybe load. Is GitHub down or is it just being stupid? Because this is very normal GitHub behavior, so you never know. Not you. Is githubcook.com. What a great graph. Monday, July 20th. One major, one minor, one ongoing. I'm just gonna put these two side by side, okay? Just gonna put these two pages side by side. You see it? Do we see it? um Their longest streak without an incident was 8 days ending December 31st, 2025. Just in time to ruin somebody's Christmas and then their New Year's as well. Absolutely beautiful. It works for you. Maybe it works now. Hey, look at that. Welcome back, buddy. Old man, how you doing? You ever consider euthanasia? Just saying. Anyway. Light XL. Why do they all look the same? I have to say they all look the same. It's kind of very like even the other one that I was looking at, the Fred text editor. This looks like VS Code. Like these colors specifically. These tabs. This just feels like VS Code. Is that just React? VS Code is written in React, isn't it? Look at this website. Oh my god. Look at this website. I wasn't even trying to look at VS Code, but here's the thing. I am trying to find what VS Code looks like on their website. Main page, absolutely fucking nothing. Go to features. Agents is the only feature. Oh my god. Okay, no. Okay. That was their download page. My bad. My bad. That was their download page. Look at these colors. Look at this thing. And then look at this one. To me, they feel very similar. Yeah, fucking agent over there. By the way, another thing with agents that I noticed the other day when I opened a Stack Overflow page. This is not Stack Overflow. Was this funny thing. Generative AI is banned. Try Stack Overflow for agents. Stack Overflow for agents. Something's wrong, but I can't quite put my finger on it. There's VS Code Web? That's a joke, right? Well, again, if it is React... Oh, there it is. Look at that. Holy fuck. If it is React, you can just have it here. It's just Electron? Is it not React? Felt like it was. Anyway. Can we open, like... Yeah, whatever. Text file. Can we choose, C code? And then just write something? Don't they look similar? Is it just me? I think they look similar. Those colors. They're not quite the same, but they feel very similar to me. Electron is the desktop wrapper, and React is just the UI part. Okay, so it is React. Generative AI to answer is banned, but agents can still query it. Yeah, I guess that's what it means. Oh no. Yeah, I guess that's what it means. It just sounds ridiculous when you look at it like that. Now the thing about this one, there was a... Damn it. So the link was actually wrong. This looks like VS Code, man. I don't know what's happening. This just looks like VS Code.
So another piece of Fred that I mentioned at the very beginning, which was like some of the motivation and the interesting tech behind Fred, is its undo tree. And this kind of like leans into the fast category again. So if I talk about stuff like this, so hello, let's make this text bigger.
Wait. The devs then created Zed. So their former editor that GitHub had was Atom, right? So they created, they unleashed the monster that is Electron on the world. And those people created Zed? I hate Zed even more now. Oh my god. The way I went from loving this editor to hating it so quick. Disgusting.
So hello
Absolutely
world.
atrocious.
Hello world.
Why is it animated?
Let's do this. My name is Fred, right? If you undo that and you want to make it a different name, like my name is Cameron, right? So traditional undo goes like undo, right? And you can keep undoing, and then you can redo, right? But now I can't get back to like Fred. Like, where did that go? how do you fix this? So in Fred, it's built on top of this immutable buffer concept. And because of that, you can basically keep a snapshot to any edit point that you've ever had in your edit
Oh,
session.
this sounds...
So if I wanted to get back in Fred, I could hit Control-Shift-Z, and it brings up this kind of like interesting piece of UI, which is kind of graphy. So as you're navigating this thing, like what's the most intuitive way to view, like from this node to a different node, like how would you actually visualize that? So my thought process was, oh, like diff, like get diff is kind of a thing that makes sense. So as you're navigating this tree here, you can see that you can also scroll through the diffs that are happening here. So at the very beginning, when I opened this buffer, it was nothing, so it looked like this, right? And you can hit Control-R to get back to where you were. And so now I can get back to Fred. So you have the capability of kind of preserving both of these points in time. So that's kind of like one of the bigger features of Fred.
That's an interesting feature, I have to say. I don't love the amount of animation that the editor has. I feel like that would be sickening after 5 seconds working on a large code base. Just anything more than 12 lines of code, you will throw up. Then again, there's people who use that like animated cursor in their terminal as well. That's a thing that I see sometimes. Well, I used to see a few months ago. I think we've moved on from that. It was just a fad, not a fade. But yeah. After 2 or 3 hours, you get out of memory. I mean, probably. I have to say, tree-based is not a bad idea. Oh my god, look at my recommendations when I watch programming videos, but I don't have history turned on. Look at this shit. Look at the slop of it all. Anyway. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I think eventually you will have to let go of the undo tree, whereas you don't really have that problem when it's not a tree. But yeah. Anyway, I'm still not over the fact that Zed was created by the people who created Atom, and that they wanted to fix the mistakes they made with Atom. They were almost doing that, and then they started vibe coding the entire thing, and now it just breaks when you look at it. So, yeah. Better luck next time, Zed. Maybe once you start all the way back at A, we're gonna have a good editor. They went from A to Z, by the way. That doesn't matter. Well, I mean, I don't know what I'm complaining about. Since I don't like Zed anymore, I get to make my own editor, so whatever. Speaking of which, let's open it. I still need a name for it. Braincode was the original name when it was a code editor. Now it's a text processor. So, right now it's called Brain, and I don't necessarily hate that name. Also because the same code base works for my terminal as well, because it has a shell. If you just use the shell, that's a terminal. And it works like a million, yo. Yo. What is this? Oh, okay, I know what it is. That is crazy. I'm supposed to compile this as a library. Still not working. Alright, I'll have to figure it out. Kate is not... What is Dired? I've never heard of Dired. No, maybe I have. Is a computer program for editing file system directories. Runs inside of Emacs text editor as a specialized mode. Those standalone versions have been written. Can I then... Oh, it's this thing. Okay, it's literally... Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So wait, dred solves what? I lost the context of what that was supposed to be. Is this the one that allows you to actually edit? No. At least, doesn't look like it. Anyway, let me see why this is not compiling. So... Yo, the syntax error? Where's that coming from? Exec format error. Oh, I see, okay. I see what the problem is. I just need to compile it for Linux. Although... Oh, the problem really was this. Right. Okay, so I can run it inside of my operating system, I just have to tell it to not run. That was the problem. Okay. Right. So I am using it as a terminal right now. And I can run ls and other things like it. I can run cds nuts into projects. And then I can ls that. So it still needs a little bit of like cleaning up and whatnot, but it does work that way. And also you can use multiple buffers because it's a text editor that uses multiple buffers. This is very simple to do. It's also not vibe-coded, so it will not break before your very eyes. And if it does, it's because of a bug. And because the code is actually manageable and written by a human who understands the code and not by an LLM that's just producing slop all the time, you can be sure that I will eventually fix the bug. But that's not really... That's why I don't believe that Zed is going to be fixing the bugs that they have, because the bugs are not coming from the fact that it's a code base written by humans that has bugs. It is a unmanageable mess written by LLMs that has bugs. That even the LLMs are starting to get to the point that they cannot manage. Braincode Synaptic. I don't know. I mean, keep in mind, that's the name of a text processor, but also it can run in a terminal mode. So, IDK. Lets you edit directories like any normal buffer. Insanely powerful. You will never use anything like it once you get it. Right, so that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to rename a file. How do you do that? Because I actually saw... I was talking about, when I was praising Emacs, talking about why I wanted to make my text editor also very Synapse. Yeah, that's not a bad name. I just... Might be. I'll keep it in consideration. When I was talking about the cool thing about the fact that everything in Emacs is text-based, which is the philosophy that I wanted to copy inside of my my editor as well, which is also why I'm able to put a shell in it so easily. Right, whereas another text editor that isn't that isn't all text-based, that doesn't have this like common interface, will have to like manually code the UI for this thing and the functionality for this thing, or maybe rely on a library, or maybe vibe code it. Yeah. But also the same thing for like the file browser over here, same thing for the tabs, same thing for everything. When everything speaks the same language, you don't really have to do this. And there was a video of Zozing showing how he was using this plus multi-cursor to edit multiple file names at the same time. The reason that it's able to do that is that these two completely different components of the system can interact with each other because they have a common language that they speak. In the same way that I can speak to a French person because we both speak English. Because as much as I pretend that I like to speak French, I'm actually really shit at it. I also created my own shell. I'll show my dog. Hold on. Is he here? He's here. See, now with this new setup, I can do dog reveals. WDRED mode to edit. Okay. Do I just type that in here? Yes. Yes. Yo! Okay. And then, if I go to this file, bada bing. Wait, set CC. Okay, renaming done. Open up! Yo! There it is, it did it. It did it. Look at that. Cool, okay, so you have to enter a specific mode to do it. Okay, understood. No, what was it? WDRED. Yeah, so why did it work the first time but not now? What now? Hold on. Oh, I have to do it on the line that I'm in. No, because why did it work the first time but not after? This is the editor. Oh my god, the idea of using Emacs is actually so cool, but actually using Emacs is torture. It is ridiculous. Oh my god. Okay, I'm almost tempted to go back in the stream and see how I entered that mode the first time, because I'm sure I just typed in WDRED and it worked, and now it's auto-completing to something. Mode. Can only be in... Am I already in the mode? No. I want to cry. I'm just gonna rename from here. Oh, look at this. This is so ugly. God damn. You cannot look at something cool in Emacs without it just ruining it for you. Oh my god. This editor is fucking ridiculous. The idea of using Emacs is actually so much better than actually using Emacs, my god. Can use some hooks to do some powerful things. When I rename MP4 to GIF, it automatically runs an image magic script on it to convert GIF with certain settings. That is incredibly cool. That is an incredibly cool thing. And that is why thinking of Emacs is cool. Using Emacs is hell. But look how cool that is. You can do that kind of stuff. The learning curve isn't even just steep, it's ridiculous. It's steep, but every second of it is just ridiculous. It's just like, why is it like that? What? According to Steam, I just enabled auto clips. I mean to Twitch, not to Steam. So I can just say Twitch clip that and it will clip that. I guess we'll see. Doesn't seem like it did. Oh, clip that from the voice command. Twitch, clip that. It's gonna do it again. Oh my god. I'm so stupid. Why did I tell it to do it again? I just created two completely useless clips. Anyway. We agreed a while ago that GNU stands for GNU is not usable. So, I initially came up with something really stupid, and then chat turned it into that. Where's my clip, Twitch? I'm waiting. Anyway, okay, so the code editor By the way, there was a crash in it. Now it works. You know what? For development, I'm just going to move it to redacted. Which I have to say, I'm thinking of reworking the build system a little bit to be a little bit like, I don't know, easier to customize. It is easy to customize, but like I created this quick build command, and then every time I want to make something to it, I just add a new flag. Like if I wanted to generate a compile commands file, I just tell it debug symbols true. If I want it to run, I tell it to run. If I tell it to inject dependencies, like the default dependencies that I use for the specific platform that I'm on, I tell it to do this. It does actually call other commands that you can manually call to do it a little bit more clean, a little bit more control over how you do it. But I don't know. I would like to hit a sweet spot in between how much boilerplate I have to write to get a build and how easy it is to customize something. So I guess I'll see. I haven't left Emacs for a decade till last week. Now I'm just making my own Emacs with a much better Lisp than eLisp. That's about right. Yeah. Also, everything's just better than Emacs. Again, the idea of using it is like, whoa, that's so cool. Every time I see content on Emacs, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. When I see Zozing or Valigo or like one of these people using it, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. Then I open it, I'm like, whoa, that's so shit. So, yeah. That really sucks. Still in the honeymoon phase with Emacs. That's a thing? Okay. Sure, man. Don't have to lie, you know. You can just tell the truth. There's no reason to lie. Anyway, is there a compilation error? Brain.h not found. You can't find the brain? Bro, it's right here. What are you talking about? Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Alright. So I found another issue with my build system. That's wonderful. I've been expanding it a lot, so it has a lot of issues with it. But essentially, I run the build.lisp file for my dependencies directly from within this one, which means it creates the compile commands file for them directly within this one. So this is the compile commands not for my system, not for my editor, I mean, but for my dependencies, which really sucks. So let's just very quickly hack it together. Oh my god, maybe, okay, hold on. Rebuild dependencies properly. Okay, something's not working. That's wonderful. Imaginal.a relocation in generic elf file in wrong format. Why are you in the wrong format, my brother? Oh. Should be something like that, I believe. No, the native doesn't exist. Is it that? Alright. Literally all I've done so far, how long have I been streaming? For like almost an hour, and all I've done is solve compilation issues. We're not off to a super strong start. Target this thing. Okay, that's what I need. Which essentially helps me tell it to recompile itself according to this global target that the application is setting. And yet it doesn't listen to me. Because did I do it? Oh no, wait, hold on. You're good. You were already using that. And yet you're not compiling yourself correctly. Hook. That's not good. All right. That's using GCC. But um, so nothing is being compiled here? What changed? This was working perfectly fine like 5 minutes ago. Alright, so all this stream is just gonna be fixing compilation issues, because, yeah, apparently. I'm pretty sure I can just get rid of this, rebuild only the part I care about, and it doesn't run. So there's no changes in the entire code base. And I literally used it at the beginning of the stream. This has nothing to do with it too. No, like, I literally used this at the beginning of the stream. What happened? I'm actually so confused. Why does this keep happening? Why do I keep getting ridiculous bugs only when I'm streaming? And I actually need things to move a little bit quick. I'm horrified right now. I there's undefined reference to main. Did I change something in the build system by any chance? What is happening right now? How do I keep, like, not changing code and it breaking? This is actively unsettling. I don't know what else to call it. This keeps happening. I make no changes to the code, it stops working. Keeps happening. Once a day on stream this entire week. What the fuck? Okay, make this a library again. It doesn't compile past this point. It's just refusing to compile anything. What the fuck is that? Why won't it go away? Go away! I don't know if I'm crying or laughing right now. What the fuck are you? Oh my god. Are RM is probably my best. Why is there no way to escape them? Okay. What the fuck was that? So that was probably being picked up at some point. Zed still sees it. I'm pretty sure it's not there anymore. It's gone. Okay. I'm terrified. No, but it's still... Okay, compiled as a library, right? I'm horrified by what just happened here. Um... Okay. Anyway. Something got really, really corrupted in all of that. Because even now, nothing is building. Although, is that on me? No, I'm telling you to build for Lin. Oh, I'm telling you to not run. Okay. Okay. Alright, we're good. What was that? No, here's the thing. At some point, I remember there being some memory corruption while I was explaining something. I did something wrong and that happened. And it must have created that file. And then in picking up a file with a name so wrong, it literally breaks everything. Like, literally everything would break with that. Even, like, right-click, delete didn't work. Nothing worked with that. The only reason I was able to get it to work is because the terminal, like, printed it like this. I'm gonna need to remember, like, how I caused that corruption in the first place. I'm starting to remember. The compiler was printing it at some point, and it somehow ended up in a file, somehow. I don't know, that was really weird. That genuinely felt crazy. That was off-putting. Holy fuck. There's also no changes in build.c, and Zed keeps telling me that there are. But that's a different story. That's just Zed being Zed. Now that I found out it was made by the same people that made Adam, suddenly it makes sense. Okay, anyway. I guess we can move on? Question mark? I'm terrified? I don't know, I feel like it's looming around every corner. That file's gonna come back any second. By the way, there's changes in the compiler that I should pull. But I'm terrified to do that. So I'm not gonna do that right now. Everything works. I want to keep it working, so I'll do that later after the stream. But anyway, I actually found out about a little something from Clang that's a little bit stupid. The clanger strikes again. It's this thing with attribute weak. This thing. Right, so essentially I am forward declaring 3 functions here with a macro. The macro is not the important part, but I'm forward declaring 3 functions, and I'm using attribute weak. That's not where my cursor was, Z. See what I mean by Z being Z? Just messing my cursor up for no reason. Anyway, again, I'm just trying to get multiple cursors. There we go. Third try. Finally worked. Anyway, this attribute weak, essentially the way that I'm using it here is that it allows me to define a symbol that may not actually be defined. To forward declare a symbol that may not actually be defined. And here, it actually Zed, you're actively breaking on stream. This is embarrassing. There's people watching. Stop doing this. This is genuinely ridiculous. I'm trying to select. I didn't have my hands on the keyboard. The cursor was here. And then I did this. Now it worked fine. But it just selected the entire thing. I don't even know what Zed is doing anymore, man. Somehow, even though I'm not auto-updating Zed, it just breaks more and more. And now I do have a question. Okay, it hasn't been updated since not since 2017, since the 17th of June. Is that actually true? Yes, apparently that's true. So I haven't updated Zed in like over a month, and I still find new bugs. Can't imagine what it's gonna be like if I do update it. I'm a little bit scared. Maybe it's gonna get better, but I highly doubt it. Again, I've said, when the whole code base is slop, it's not gonna get better. Anyway, yeah, it allows me to do like checking these functions, like null checking these functions, and then provide a default implementation. And so I'm doing this to essentially make these functions optional. Clang also supports attribute weak. However, it only supports it if you eventually do define that function. So it allows you to define a function, to declare a function that may never be defined, but only if you will eventually define it. There may be a flaw in that logic that we maybe need to consider a little bit, Clang, perhaps. We want to think about that more than 2 minutes. Give it a little. Give it a thought. Anyway, the solution to that ended up being, which again I'm terrified to pull it, but the solution to that ended up being that I can essentially do this and provide default implementations to these functions. And then what that does is it declares the function, but it declares it weak, so that if you declare it again later, it's gonna override the initial declaration. So you can declare a function twice. And in so doing, I can have the default implementation of the function, and if I do want to override the default implementation, I can. It allows me to do that, which is pretty cool still, but it only works outside of your current compilation unit, which means if I am declaring the weak function here, I cannot declare the actual function in the same file. I have to do it in a different file. Luckily, most of these are defined in a different file, except for this one, which is the only two functions that are actually declared like this are down here. And I just moved them away from there, so yeah, I was able to fix it. But again, I'm not gonna pull those changes because I'm terrified. Still, very interesting that you have this thing of like, you can essentially have optional functions, but only if you do declare them, so they're not really optional. How did we get to this point, Clang? How did this happen? Maybe we need to think about that one a little bit more. Anyway, terrified as I am to continue compiling stuff, looks like everything works now. So, about the editor. Right, so right now, the way that the editor is working, and this is something I'm going to need to consider a little bit, is by default I open a shell. Every new buffer that you open will be a shell. Which by the way, the name of the shell is Sheldon. But of course, this is also a text editor. I need to be able to switch between those modes and any other mode. Now, for the Emacs experts, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe the easiest way to switch between modes in Emacs is to do it from here. Well, the way to do it is to do it with a command, essentially. Let me look it up just in case. I don't know. Emacs switch mode. I'm gonna have to read 20 pages of the manual, so I'm gonna be doing that in complete silence. No, hopefully not. First, Emacs checks whether the file contains file local mode variables. Look how intuitive that is. Beautiful. Anyway, that's how you do it. Okay, so you do have to run a command to switch between one mode and another. In my editor, I didn't call them modes, I called them sources. I'm kind of regretting that name because, you know, this is an editor that will be working with source code, so it's a little bit weird to do it like that. But I did call it that for now. And anyway, I do want to have that kind of functionality where I can switch between one and the other. Now, the reason I need to think about this a little bit, first off, I want to have an easy way of doing it. I guess it depends on the file that you're opening. Like, hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me put it this way. Let's say that I want only... Can I close this thing? This is technically not considered a buffer, I think. So can I close it? I forgot that this was here, by the way. Cool. Oh no, I closed. Damn it. I don't know. Before I build a thing to switch between a shell and a file, I need to consider... Like, what exactly do I want to do? Like, if I want to open a file in Emacs, I can go Control X, Control F, very intuitive, and then open the file. And that will open a file. And if I want to instead switch to a shell, I can open the mini buffer and type in shell or eShell, and it will open a new buffer with a shell in it. Okay. So I guess that kind of behavior might be at least the initial way that I do it. Right, mini buffer, and in here I can type, can I type file, for example? Like, can I type something like scratch to open the scratch buffer? Oh, okay, you can do that. Wait, hold on, because also... No, that's not what I was trying to do. That's not what I was trying to do. Damn it. I was trying to open the Emacs file. In here I created a shortcut. This one. Which switches to buffer scratch. But can I just put in scratch directly? Can I just do that? Oh, you cannot comment this out. Okay. Can I just do scratch, then close that, close the lambda, and close that? Okay, let's write it. And I'm just gonna restart the editor. No, doesn't work. Great, so now I have to fix it. Okay, so that is how Emacs works. That's good to know. That essentially I can open the mini buffer and tell it to I can open the mini buffer and tell it to switch to a different mode, which will open a new file if that's what it needs to do. However, I'm currently using the mini buffer as an input buffer for this. So I'll need to think about how to do that properly. Lisp as your first language is interesting. I don't think it's necessarily a bad language to do as a first or as a main. It's pretty great. It's a pretty great language. Honestly. Amazing language. Top 10 languages. Top 2 languages. It's C and Lisp. The only reason that Lisp is second, because for performance you can't really use it. But hey, for scripting you can use it. So yeah, I'm being a little lazy, and you type commands in here for the shell, which I have to say I really like. But that would mean if I instead wanna like go in here and type commands to tell it to go into file mode, I can't really do that. Also, why didn't that work at all? That should have printed something. Oh, there we go. Okay. I don't know about that ranking of Lisp 4th C. I don't know about that. Lisp is more elegant than C. It has better features than C. It's great. The only issue with it, not as fast as C. Yeah. Lisp is, to a Lisp machine, what C is... Well, it's not one-to-one assembly anymore, but it is pretty close, so... Well, it was never one-to-one assembly, but like, it's very similar to assemblies. But yeah. Still consider it to be the best. Anyway, now I have to choose. Do I want to get rid of that input? That would suck. But I think I have to. Because the behavior that I have right now is that if the thing is capable of reading commands, then it reads commands. If it's not capable of reading commands, then the text editor should handle the commands. So that means when I'm in file mode, I could easily write the code so that when I type in shell, it opens a new shell. But when I'm in the shell, I can't easily type in file and it opens a file. So that sucks. I think I'm gonna have to get rid of the command handler thing, and no, but it's so cool. Well, of course, another thing that I can do no, I don't know. I was thinking the other thing that I can do is have something similar to, again, what Emacs does, which, if I'm not mistaken... No, you don't really have two buffers. You don't really have two buffers. You just have one, the mini buffer. That's the only one there is. But you don't use it to control programs. You just use it to control the text editor itself. You just use it to control Emacs itself. I think I'm gonna need to do it like that. As much as that sucks. I really don't want to do this. Man, I'm disappointed that I would have to do this. But essentially, how do you send commands to the editor if the current command buffer is controlled by the shell? I don't want to have to use like a specific sequence. Like, I don't know, maybe if you start it with this, wrong command. If you start it with this, then it goes to the shell. It goes to the text editor instead of the shell. That feels like complexity that's not really necessary, that's not really very welcome. So, unfortunately, I cannot think of any other way besides using it for that. Now, I'm not going to... Okay, I'm going to be breaking the shell temporarily. It is not going to be able to handle commands. Instead, the commands are going to go to the text editor itself. Right. So... I can also make it scriptable. And very much make that scriptable as well. So... the brain shell... And I'm disappointed by this. I'm very disappointed by this news. If you hear that I sound sad, it's because I am. I can't believe I have to get rid of my my command buffer. Man, that's really sad. Hold on, let me structure this even better. Okay, so I have the command buffer, which is that little mini buffer at the bottom. And that command buffer is, which by the way is considered to be a file for some reason. Well, I can switch it to be a shell. It itself is a shell. And if it itself is a shell, it is going to be able to handle its own commands. Right, because all I have to do is create shell source. Right, so the command buffer, I'm now going to turn it into a shell itself. And unfortunately, in doing so, I'm turning the shell into a shell of its former self. But anyway, here's where I'm initializing it. And what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to make the command buffer into a new shell. No, that's not the name of it. Into create shell source. Right. But this is going to be an interesting shell, because in the shell I can choose to define built-in commands to that shell. And those built-in commands are built with something called shelly. Man, I used to be able to do scrolling all the way to the beginning of the file with control page up. Now it just takes me to the previous file. Again, I haven't updated this editor in over a month. I don't know how it's actively changing. This is a thing that is happening in Z now, apparently. It just auto-updates itself. The code just rewrites itself. Does it have an LLM actively rewriting the editor by any chance? Is that a thing? Alright, so shelly is what I use to expose functions in C code to the shell. So the shell will essentially call those functions as built-in functions of the shell. And if I do command buffer shell handle, then I need to read how I'm doing this, because I don't remember how Shelly works. Sheldon has some built-ins here. Alright, so where is this function defined? Built-in handler. Wait, this is a non-static function in an H file. Okay, that's not great. But it works so far, so it'll probably break now, and I'll have to mark all of those as static. But anyway. Yeah, I need to include this file. So include not that, but builtins.h. And then go down here. I'm going to register a bunch of functions as well. I'm going to register one function as built-in, which is going to be test func. And it's just going to print test. And then I'm not going to sneeze. Anyway, I have to register a built-in function called test. Although that requires something called a handler. So, okay, here. Register command buffer built-ins. With a shell. This function signature, yeah, with just a shell handle. Okay, that's all I need. And then I need to expose this function using that shelly thing, which looks like this. Shelly command forward, no arguments, I believe. The name is going to be test. The function is going to be test func, and no arguments. Alright, so that's really all it takes. Now I created a command called test inside of my shell, which can run with test func. Alright, and a final thing that I need to do is put a function pointer here for built-in handler with a shell handle pointer. And pass that in here. And also in the signature. So I can pass this function into it. I'm pretty sure I'm also going to have to do that. 0 here. Then fix a couple more compilation errors. And we're done with all the boilerplate. Actually start building stuff. And I just muted my audio for some reason. Alright. So if I did all the boilerplating correctly, I broke my shell, unfortunately. I do need to fix this. I do need to fix this. All of these functions and this function as well, all of them need to be marked static. So this one, and I'll also have to do it for you, you, and you. That failed. Okay, that's interesting. Static declaration of register built-in follows non-static declaration. Line 94, previously declared on line 10 of built-ins. Wait, so because I called it... I am forward declaring it here. I cannot make it static? Is that what it's saying? That feels like what it's saying. Alright, look, I'm just gonna undo all that. Turn this into a C file. Give it a H file. And take all of these. That's a lot of... Today it's just boilerplate and fixing errors. It's like nothing getting done. Anyway, pragma once, do this. Take your imports as well. We need those. And you take built-in handler.h, and built-in handler.h takes these. Alright. And then semicolon, 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 semicolon. Okay, we're good? We're good. What about you now? What are you complaining about now? Okay, no, it's good. It's good, it's good, it's good. Multiple definitions of echo def. Oh, that is not good. So you also go here. Or not. Someday we will get this project to compile and I'll actually do something, but right now I'm fighting against GCC real hard. What the fuck do you want now? God. What is the actual error? Echo def undeclared. Did you mean CD def? No, I meant echo def. Where am I using echo def? Here, okay. I see. Oh, this is a problem. The entire thing is starting to fall apart. Essentially. Essentially. The entire thing is starting to fall apart, pretty much. The way that I built my built-in functions is that they have this macro, which you cannot handle apparently. This macro, which contains this file, or this thing, that is not actually... I can make it static, technically, and just be done with it. Yeah, just gonna make it static and be done with it, honestly. That would be this thing, right? Something like that. This thing. Static. Alright, solution found. Yeah, we're good. Alright, so yeah, now it says Sheldon here. And I cannot really run commands in it, can I? No, I can't. Oh wait, okay, because I disabled this, perhaps? Alright, so the command buffer now has a shell handler, which... No, there's a little bit more to it. The command buffer has a header, which has a command handler. Okay, so I can just pass it on to here. Okay, okay, we're good, we're good, we're good. just pass it to that and wipe it. And all right, go in here. Echo hello. Does not do anything. Fuck. All right. We get to this point. So there is a command handler. That means we're calling this function. We should be calling run command. And it won't actually run a command because the command is not a built-in command anymore. Echo is not built in anymore. But it should do something, whereas it seems to do nothing instead. Um, mm, mm, mm. Unless, of course, I need to print. I think I'm just using the wrong buffer, probably. Yeah. This is the buffer that I should be using to get the command. So handle command is being called from here using not that buffer anymore, but this buffer, yeah. Still nothing. That's very sad. Well, now it stopped working entirely. Everything stopped working. That's great. Alright, that kind of worked. I think. Okay, it did work. It did work. Kind of. Kind of, because it doesn't see my function called test. It doesn't do this. So you are registering, right? Alright, so my function is being registered, I believe. That means that it should try to find a function called test. Or like when I try to run a command called test, it will call the test function. But it doesn't seem to be doing that. Okay, instead it seems to be like trying to run the command, then by the way, this is like a no, that's fine. It should be no, this one. Call Sheldon built in. It should be using this function. And that one will be going through the built-in functions. At least I should hope so. Should be going through the built-in functions and actually registering the function, but it's not. All right, again, test. Trying to run built-in test. Okay, so I got the correct name for it. But then I'm assuming it never gets to this point. So it never finds the function that it's supposed to run. Test done, not found. And then it crashes. Let me check something real quick. How did everything break? Alright, so these are the problem. Somewhat. Let me see. Okay, starting with this. Put char is actually not being used. Flush actually not being used. Clear, we'll get to you. I'll probably need to use you. Anyway, I don't need these two. Hold on, let me keep them. Just no implementation, but I think the fact that they exist is important. So I'm just gonna keep them like they are. Then this whole thing just broke for no discernible reason. Alright, and then I have to go into brain, line 95. Here I am wiping the wrong buffer. Should be wiping this buffer. And also on line 107, I missed. I'm creating a buffer that I'm not using. Alright. So. So I just butchered the entire way that my terminal works. And the alternative doesn't even work right now. Oh my god. This is like the saddest day ever. Now it doesn't work again. Which is weird because nothing's changed. Like, command buffer handle keyboard. Like, this is being called, right? Alright, the prints are not. Hold on, I just realized something. I'm using print. I should be using debug print. Otherwise it gets printed to the console. It messes up the console. So there's that. I don't think that's the problem. Anyway. Alright, so you see that. You see me typing. You see me doing stuff. Then I can go here and just do TEST, and it does nothing. Even though we are here. I don't need this anymore. Although, command buffer header command handler. I see, I was passing the wrong buffer here. So I understand why it didn't work, but now it's breaking more, so I don't understand it anymore. Now it crashed. Oh god, this is exhausting. What a sad stream this is. It's like a funeral for the feature that I like the most about my terminal. And it's painful. Because what I'm doing doesn't even work. I don't even understand what I'm doing anymore. All I know is I butchered my code completely. I might end up having to like undo everything that I'm doing right now and redo it later on. Because this code is atrocious. But Try one more time. It's like, just want to see where these inconsistencies are coming from. T-E-S-T. Trying to run a built-in test, and now it works. Pissed off, man. Alright. So I think the reason that that failed was that that there wasn't a white space there. That's probably the reason that that failed, but anyway, this should be wiped anyway. Alright. T-E-S-T. Now it works. Oh, I don't know what to say, man. Now, the thing is that I used to not be able to press enter and have something happen. Now I can. So, what happened there is the question that I would love to ask. Anyway. Now, the command buffer, I do need to do some more configuration. Like, for example, it has this placeholder. Its contents are actually the contents of its shell. Output buffer. It is not multi-line and it has a white cursor. Alright, so it looks like that. I can switch to it, I can type in test, and I get, okay. Alright, it seems like I got it back to working like I want. Cool, ish. So now the only issue is that I did butcher my, what is it called? My terminal, in so doing. But again, I need this buffer for something. This is either for the terminal or it's for the text editor. One of the two. Maybe if I run the terminal in the, not the terminal, the text editor in terminal mode, then I can use this for the terminal. Whereas if you use it in shell mode, you just have to type in here. It does suck to do that, but I guess I can. But anyway. Now it failed. Now it fucking failed. Oh my god. Oh my god. What changed though? What was the difference? Why can I not type anymore? Alright, there's something I'm not cleaning up and I don't know what it is. Okay, I think that was it. Just the fact that I switched to this and then I switched back. Alright, that there I mistyped. I wrote tester. Alright. Okay, so anyway, as much as I hate that I did have to butcher my shell, I did get my text editor's configuration working. And of course, the next thing for me to do then is to make my function, well, a new function actually. Test function can go. Switch mode. Switch mode. And take in a string as a character. So with one argument, switch mode. Well, switch a current buffer mode. Current buffer mode. And it takes in a string argument, which I'm hoping translates to char pointer. Anyway, it will print switching to S mode str, and this may crash if I did it wrong. The function is still called test, but now it takes an argument. I'll change the name later. Anyway, test hello. Switching to hello mode. That worked on the first try, oh my god! I'm so happy I'm gonna cry. There's no corruption files, nothing weird happening. It just worked on the first try. Is this what it feels like to be able to code? God damn. Wow, you just write code and it works? I'm gonna have to try that more. Can you try Hannah Montana Linux? I am on Hannah Montana Linux. Anyway. Okay, the command's name is just gonna be mode, ideally. Ideally. It's just gonna be mode. So mode file. Alright. So it's gonna be mode file mode shell to switch between the current buffer having a shell or a file. Who would have ever thunk it? Anyway, we have to get the current buffer. And this I need to do a little bit of work. Because what is current buff? It's an integer, right? So what does it point to? When I switch to this one, and I do mode hello, it is going to switch number 2 to hello mode. Number 2 being this, if I'm not mistaken. There is an invalid. There is the command buffer, which is ID 1. And then there is a buffer count, which is ID 2. Alright. So yeah, buffer 2 is the beginning or the first buffer of my of my current system. So if I do a little bit more, like I create 2 buffers, and I'm currently on this one, and I do mode hello, it tells me switching 2 to mode hello. That's good. But then if I switch to this one and I tell it mode hello, switching 3 to mode hello. Okay. By the way, whichever console I opened last becomes the current console. So that means that it gets printed to this one. Yeah, that might need a little bit of work, but it's fine. Actually, no. Why would it need work? It's just that all prints are being captured to go into that. That's the part that's a little bit of an issue. No, whatever. All prints going to the console is not exactly what I want. Why did I even do it that way? Besides for built-ins? For built-ins. That's the reason I did it that way. Anyway. We're moving on. Alright, so there it detects the current buffer that I have selected correctly. And now I can use that. And I need to get that buffer's like this. This code that used to be here is going to go here now. We're going to find the current buffer. We're going to take the buffer's context. And what we're going to do with it is we are going to release it. To do proper cleanup. Right, so the shell should know how to clean itself up, and the file system should know how to clean itself up. Whereas right now I'm just cleaning any reference I have to them, not really cleaning anything, so I'm not closing any files, I'm not saving any files, I'm not stopping any running processes. But it's fine. It's fine for now. I put a to-do, so it's fine. Anyway, we're going to create a new context for it, which how are we doing? That would be the thing that I did here. This. Why am I doing this like that, by the way? Let's return it. Not sure why I was doing that. Anyway, yeah, I need to call this function, and I need to call it like that. Okay, okay. That is if the mode is currently shell, then the node's context is going to become this thing. Else if file. So this whole thing is going to go into a proper manager where like these two modes or sources, again, why did I call it mode? I think I'm gonna use the word mode because I decided to call them sources to be unique and different from Emacs, but genuinely mode is a better word. Also source can be very confusing with like something like file source. I actually had to make this called source file type because mode file makes sense. It's the file mode. But source file sounds like something else. Sounds like a source code file, which it isn't what it is. So, yeah, I'll be renaming them to mode. After I'm done grieving my shell dying. Because, yeah. I hate that mini buffer is now no longer... I'll have to consider something better. Okay, create a file source. That's it. And anyway, this whole thing is going to go into a proper manager where you can also register your own modes, because otherwise what's the point? Alright, so right now I have a shell. I can do mode file, and I open the file. And I can do mode shell, and I crash. Hell yeah! Hell yeah, that's what I want. That's what the fuck you were supposed to do. Okay, so GDB, could you tell me what the error is? Is it anytime I run shallow? What is shallow? Well, it did crash, so yes. Okay, I actually understand what it is. It's this shit. Terminate. Terminate. Yes, quit. Quit! GNU. Make some intuitive software, for the love of God. Hire someone that's used a computer before. Please, I'm begging you. You actually have good ideas. You're just really shit at thinking of how people use computers. It's insane. Okay, so that worked. It created a new shell, even though I already had a shell. So it looks the same. Now it crashes again. Can you just get rid of this whole thing entirely and just be done with it? Although I think that's probably not the problem. Mode file. Mode shell. Crashes. Alright, so tell me where exactly. Mo mode file. Mode shell. Alright, switch current buffer mode. So it switched to another place. Like the error is a different one. Now, that's interesting. At brain 130, so here, it just couldn't find the current node. That's what happened, probably. Right, but that's not supposed to happen. But I can fix the crash, but that's not supposed to happen in the first place. Yeah, so it didn't do anything. Alright, so tell me what buffer you can't find. Say print couldn't find I buffer with the current buffer. And also I should be using debug print, otherwise I get the first crash that I got. Alright, so mode shell, mode file, mode shell, mode file, mode file, mode shell, mode shell. It started working. Right. It started working. Right. I miss being able to be like, okay, my software is not working because of this reason. Oh, now it's working because I fixed it. I made this fix. I have zero clue why it started working. I mean, the closest is that this being a print was probably messing with the current shell and that was making things happen, but goddamn, I can't really tell you. I'm actually not sure. Jesus. Anyway. I'm still disappointed that I can no longer use this thing for input into the shell. It makes sense because this thing is always there, even when you're in file mode. Right now I have a file. I can't open a file yet. I'll get to that. I should be able to open a file, right, pretty easily now. But yeah, even when I am in a file, this thing is there. So it doesn't make sense that this becomes the input to the terminal. I'm really gonna miss having that as the input of my terminal. Maybe I'm not gonna deprecate my terminal then? Maybe I'm just gonna make like a proper terminal mode where this thing only edits the terminal? Or maybe I'm gonna give it an input command. Wait, I can do that. Hold on. I may have rescued it. Okay, so if you do something like this, right? Okay, so right now there's a shell here, and this is the mini buffer that controls the text editor. However, if I type in input, which doesn't do anything right now, but if I do that, I type in input, what I do is I configure it to be able to wire its input to the shell instead of to itself. The problem is then how do I take it back from the shell? Now, once I have menus and once I have better key bindings, I might be able to have a way to do that. Maybe the shell like has a way of doing it internally, but like, okay, I like that. I like that. I like that. I'm gonna do that. Anyway, what did you miss from the start? I'm not gonna lie to you, nothing. You missed absolutely nothing. Pretty much what I just explained, that this used to be the input into the shell, and now it isn't because it's the input into the text editor's shell. But I just found a way to make it work as the input of whatever shell you currently have open. So, hey, crisis averted. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Alright, so I'm actually gonna need to do that. Just undo this real quick. Do this. And bada bing, bada boom. There we go. And we're going to have a command buffer forward input. You can tell I'm getting older because the name of my variables and my name of my functions are getting longer and longer and more explicit. So now I'm calling it that. Right, forward input, there we go. Alright, actually, one thing that I can do, if cmd dot, or string slice compare, no, what is it called? Slice literal match, command input true, then just invert this flag. Alright. It's also getting harder to spell. Don't shut up. Alright, so I'm not actually gonna do it as a command of the shell. It's not even gonna be built into the shell. That way I can do input. Right, maybe return would be nice. Return true. Return true. Alright. So anyway, right now I have a shell here, and I have this input file, which does not go to the shell, it goes to the terminal. It goes not to the shell, but to the text editor, which is working like a terminal, so yes. I type in input, and I forgot to wipe. But anyway, I can do echo hello, and there we go. I typed into the shell. Now I can type again input, and again I have to wipe manually because I forgot to put the wipe in here. That's what I meant by I forgot to wipe, by the way, nothing else. And I do echo, and it will not do anything. No, it actually did something. It just didn't print here. My terminal is the text editor. Gives me the desktop. The thing is the text Emacs. Okay, so this part I actually don't need. Emacs is what the terminal should have been. So if I'm making something similar to Emacs, then it stands to reason that didn't work, like, at all. Not even a little bit. If I'm making something that works like Emacs, then I should expect it to, you know, be a better editor, a better terminal. Test doesn't work. Mode file crashes. Boom! I broke it again. Hell yeah! I'm tired, man. BT, not BTW. In handle command, there's no node. Can't find the current buffer. Right. That is, yeah, reasonable. Hold on. Alright, so this is a void, which is kind of weird. Anyway, return true if it was handled by this using this condition as well. So this condition is needed here, but nowhere else. Actually, no. This condition. Okay, like that. Like that. Let me see. Alright, so I type in echo hello, and it does nothing. Cool. I type in mode file, and it does nothing. Not cool. I type in input, and I type in echo hello, and it does nothing. Cool, I broke it entirely this time. Holy. Wow. Right. Okay, I need to... I need to write this properly. Hold up. First off, this is a built-in function. So it goes here. Not even a built-in function, it's just routing for where the command goes. So that's the first thing I ever do. It's like echo mode and MX. It's like MX, yeah. But I don't know what echo mode is. Is there an echo mode in Emacs? Is that what you mean? I'm just using the command echo. Hello, Kayal. Alright, so that's thing number one out of the way. Then, alright, where the command goes depends on this condition. So, starting with this. If we're not supposed to forward input, it goes to the text editor's scripting. So it handles it itself. It doesn't route its input. Alright. Otherwise, if the current buffer is that one, we return. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. This was an early exit condition, wasn't it? This was an early exit condition. I forgot to invert it. I'm being so dumb today. Holy fuck. Okay. So anyway, it does that, right? And then it does this. Alright, move that git stuff. It was kind of in the way. That goes here, 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 here. Alright. And then handle the command and return true. And here also return true. Pretty sure it's gonna be correct now. Trust me. Mode file does fuck all. We're off to an incredible start. Anyway, test does nothing. That makes sense. Anyway, input does fuck all as well. Sheesh. First thing I need to do is wipe it. Start over. Input. Echo hello. Does nothing. Oh my god! I'm gonna fucking lose it. Echo area is the tiny area below the mode line where you see stuff get printed. The fact that it cannot resize Emacs. Emacs has the same inconsistent behavior that my edit. Oh, it is resizing. Holy fuck, look at this thing. Native Linux program, by the way. GNU Linux, GNU Emacs. They're siblings. They don't get along clearly. Anyway, which one is the echo line? Is it this thing? Is that what you mean? This thing? Is that it? Probably not. It's probably easier if I just look up Emacs echo line and I go to pictures probably. My hair rubbing against the headphones really makes it sound like there's something crawling there. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, okay, this. Alright, so whenever I mistype something, I do something like Command C and then I do this, that's the mode line. And then it gets replaced by that. The one that says information about GNU Emacs. Okay, yeah. Got it. Okay. So that area actually gets replaced by the mini buffer. Then. Interesting. By the way, for people who missed it, at some point my programs stopped compiling entirely because I somehow accidentally created a file called this. This whole thing. And neither Zed nor the file explorer called Dolphin, I think, could actually delete it because it had such weird names that they couldn't handle it. The only way that I was able to do it is because the terminal actually escapes the characters that it was. That was actually such a fucking trippy moment because I made no changes and everything broke. The mode line is each buffer 2. Yeah, no, I saw the mode line. I am technically copying the mode line. Though right now it only says that this is the current buffer. I haven't really bothered with that. Yeah, it works deleting it from the terminal. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to build this whole thing, by the way. Genuinely wouldn't have worked. The terminal was the only one that was able to do it. I copied from ls. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do it. Both Dolphin and Zed broke when trying to do that. Oh my god. Okay. So, can I actually do this? The command buffers, headers, text info, placeholder, set it to an arrow. Otherwise, set it to that. Okay, so that's already off to a bad start because that didn't work. What's up, Melifus? How about we start with printing exactly what the damn command is that apparently didn't match input. 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 It's empty. I'm losing it. I'm fucking losing it. Look at this print. And look at what I get. Single mode line bar. No Windows used them. Interesting. Trying to relax after coding all day by watching someone else code. This is also me relaxing after coding all day. Oh my god. I completely forgot. Today I asked Claude to do something very simple. I literally wrote code like this. Yeah, I wrote something like this. And I was like, I guess I have to use tokens. So here, I told it, structure this into a 2D array. An array where each entry of the array is this thing. Immediately, like you can see it's like thinking, and it goes, okay, I am actually noting several inconsistencies in the way that this file is written, so I will be fixing those. Then it started grabbing a completely different file. And I was like, I stopped it immediately because I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I told you to do one thing. Why are you changing my file? Why are you looking at a different file? What the fuck is actually wrong with you? Anyway, eventually I told it, hey, only do what I told you. And it gave me a dictionary. Also, yes, the buffer that I'm trying to write, yeah. You're correct about that. It gave me a dictionary. A dictionary where, hold on, looks like this. The absolute state of it all. Anyway, this is also pseudocode, which, by the way, is the issues that Claude was probably complaining about. Either that, or it was complaining about, like... hold on, did I say Claude? It wasn't Claude, it was Codex. Pretty sure. Yeah, anyway. Who gives a shit? It's one of those clankers. They're both fucking stupid. I was thinking, like... the absolute disconnect between what I'm being told about vibe coding and what I see about vibe coding, or just using AI for coding, there is a massive gap. And like, obviously, there's a lot of people who have a financial incentive to lie to you about vibe coding. Like that one YouTuber that's like, guys, I don't know how to vibe code. I don't know how to vibe code. It's just a me skill issue, okay? It's literally just me. Vibe coding works, okay? As evidenced by my sponsor of today's video, Cursor, okay? So trust me, vibe coding totally works. Don't listen to me. It's me. I'm the problem. I am a super well-qualified engineer, and yet I am unable to vibe code, but that's just me. Trust the sponsor of today's video, though. Alright, so if you ignore those people, there are still people who are not getting paid and who actually pay for vibe coding that tell you that vibe coding is good. The thing is, if you ran this shit, obviously not this, right? But if you ran a dictionary where each entry into the dictionary is an integer, sequential integer, and inside of that is an array of 2 elements, if you ignore like the memory layout and the efficiency of how that code actually works, it will work just like an array. It's just a really stupid way of making an array, and it's also really inefficient if you do know like the way that dictionaries work separate from arrays. They have all this extra stuff that you don't really need for an array, but technically they can be handled like an array. It's just like, why would you do this? It's really stupid. The thing is that like vibe coders just don't check the slop. It's just like, it seems to work. Like, again, if I hadn't checked the code and I had just accepted it at face value, it would have worked. And I would have just moved on. That's probably what's happening. I vibe coded and I had no idea how the code worked that I was looking at. You will get stuck in a loop if it doesn't work. It's X, this should fix it, that didn't fix it. Yep. Another time I also, like, sometimes I'm like, hey, this is not working. Like, sometimes I'm like, hey, so this function that I create inside of this dependency, that then goes through this dependency, that then goes through this dependency, that then goes through the final product, is not being found by the final product. Can you just trace back what's happening? And no, no, the fuck it can't. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I fixed it for you. It deleted the dependency. Or it deleted the call. You no longer get the exception for the class not found. Because I deleted the... You're not looking for it anymore. So of course, not gonna be an error when you don't find it if you don't look for it. So yeah, vibe coding only works if you don't know how to code. LLMs are really good at everything that you're really bad at. Suspiciously, they're only bad at the things that you're good at. And the better you get at something, the worse they will get at it. But they totally work, trust me, bro. Oh yeah, it also completely makes up reasons. Like, hallucinations are still very much a thing today. Suggest a rough implementation plan? Yeah, no, I get that. Deletes your PC's root folder. It only happened once that we know of. That only happened once to a guy with a blog that wrote about it. Anyway, the error that I'm having is in fact that I'm wiping the buffer ahead of time. Now the thing is that because I was using a string slice, I was like, okay, so I'm making a copy of the command, right? So I can totally edit the command while I'm... Of course not, you can't do that. You can't do that. Jokes on AI companies, I already hallucinate myself. Hell yeah. Damn. You're tried hallucinating? Holy shit. Alright, look at that. Okay, so I actually should not be using print. Should not be using print. Alright. Alright, so if I type echo test, it echoes, which I think it shouldn't. Because, like, who's echoing that? I feel like you shouldn't be doing that. Wait, is this on by default or off by default? Off by default, right? Yeah, okay. Anyway, I don't know about that, but anyway. If I type in input, it will now forward my input to the shell. I will think of these symbols, making them a little bit better. Organic, homemade, artisanal hallucinations. Hell yeah. Now if I do echo test, it does fuck all! It doesn't work! I have literally been stuck on writing this text in this tiny little box, or on compiling the code in the first place for 2 hours and a half. Oh my god. It's like... it's not really like Sisyphus, but it's like... It is a very repetitive thing. But it has a point. It's just like the same pattern keeps coming up. For the love of God. Anyway, I don't get my Greek myths mixed up. I got my Greek mixed. You know what I mean. What the fuck, I can't even speak anymore. Alright. One must imagine the Ferrari happy. I'll be happy when the shit works. So never. You hear that, therapist? I'm gonna be paying you for a long time. Hell yeah. Does mode at least work? Oh my god, please, the thing that I set out to build. Yes! Yes! It worked! Oh my god! It worked! I'm so happy. All right. So how about we just ignore this whole thing and instead create an open command? How about I do that right now? So I'm going to create a new command. Current buffer open. So we're going to bring back the ability to open files. How are we going to do that? By the way, this check here was actually correct. I should have been doing that. This check. Should be doing that. Just return though. Anywho, we're gonna do the same check. We're gonna do this, this, and this. Bada bing. Bada boom. Alright. So the buffer context, we are going to check if its type is equal to the file type ID, which again, very weird name. This will only work if you're doing that. In the future though, actually, you know what? I can't be bothered doing this very correctly right now, so I'm just gonna hack it together real quick. Which is essentially, if we're not in file mode, but we're trying to open a file, we're gonna switch to file mode first. Alright. In the lazy way. This is the lazy way, let's face it. Fuck no, it isn't. Who cares? Anyway, then, do I still have the code for opening a file? No way I deleted it. Alright. I figured I would need it again, so... Read full file. Yeah, it's gone. Damn. Okay, so... We're going to attempt to read the file. By statting the file. str. No, not openf. Stat. Statf. Using stat. And if we're able to open the file, otherwise we're going to produce an error, which by the way, I also will need a little echo line, most likely in the text editor, but I don't know that I wanted to override the other buffer, because there's enough space for everything, man. That's fine. Alright, we're going to open the file by just doing a full read full file of str, reading it in here. Oh, by the way, if stat type is not equal to entry type file, we're going to return, and to do, we can also handle directories. We should also handle, we can't actually handle directories, that's why I'm doing this right now, but we should be able to handle directories. So, yeah, once we're able to, we will. str, there we go. Alright, so we're going to read the full file, and then the buffer source which is of the type file, source type file. Its buffer
Actually just games raided your channel with 4 viewers.
we will set to actually just games. Thank you for the raid. Welcome everybody. Just realized I hadn't been given shoutouts when people raided me, so I'm so sorry about that. Alright, we're gonna be creating a buffer. I already had this boilerplate for the stuff written, so I'm really sad that I deleted it. Well, did I? Yeah, definitely deleted it. Unless I put it here for some reason. Definitely deleted it. Alright, so the buffer is gonna be the contents. The buffer size is going to be the size that we're given. The buffer limit is going to be the size that we're given. Since we've allocated only enough space to read the file. So we will allow the file to grow. Well, the buffer to grow, if that's what we want. But by default, it will have only the size of the file. Gotta head out. Okay. No problem. Thank you for the raid. See you, man. To here, we're gonna need to do a cast as well. Source type file, like that. And am I missing any options? Yes, the data type. Funny thing is, I have the data type of the file, which in the future might help me also control how to format the file and how to do all that stuff. For example, we might want to open a... What is it called? A hex viewer for a binary file or something like that. Data types don't exist in Linux or anything like that, so they're not super helpful. They only exist within my system. And also they barely exist within my system, but they do exist. Well, we do need to create an A. At some point or another, you will have to write an A, right? And also at some point or another, I will be doing font rendering soon. So we'll be creating an A, literally. Anyway, like that, we create a file into the buffer, and the last thing we need to do is store the path where that is written by just storing the path that we used to write it. Alright, there should be save functionality for saving the current buffer. I believe that's gonna stay the same. Wait, that's funny. What if I try to save? It'll probably crash if you do it in a shell. Undefined reference to statf. Oh, jeez. I don't think I implemented stat for Linux. Did I actually just say oh, jeez? Okay. Morty. There's no stat. For that matter, there's not even readf. There's no openf. There's not even a stub for stat. Holy fuck. Okay, so stat's gonna have to wait. Stat is going to have to wait. We're just going to have to trust that the file exists. We're good with just getting rid of this, honestly. Just. Alright. So I do mode file. And I don't do anything because I didn't plug this into anything. So I'm going to need to copy this. Alright, the name of the command is gonna be open. And it's going to point to the current buffer open function. It's going to take a string parameter and mode file, then open on the brain code brain.c, which did fuck all. Hell yeah! I love it when my code doesn't work. Doesn't even show signs of life, man. It feels good. Feels good. Let me guess. It's you. It's you. It's always you. Now, I should be able to actually do it like this. Directly opening should remove the shell and open the file system, so that's a thing that I should be able to do. However, no the fuck I'm not. Alright, what if I just get rid of you? How's that? That's probably gonna crash. It's doing nothing! Oh my god, it's not even crashing. Oh my god, it is doing nothing. Oh my god, it is doing nothing. I need to end the stream soon, man. I'm too tired. I don't feel tired. I want to keep doing this, but goddamn, my brain is not working today. Ironic. Is that the name of the stream? The name of the editor. I didn't. Look, this whole thing is buggy as shit. I will need to fix it. I will need to fix it. But it does work. Kinda. If you look at it nicely and you ask with thank you and please, it will work. C-source. ASCII text. Thank you. I was just wondering, yeah. I'm sorry? Who printed this? Wait. Yeah, that will just open the file. Who printed this? Ah. Oh my god. The code will work because you're pure of heart believing yourself? Yeah, look at that. I just spawned code out of literal thin air that prints the shit. Oh my god. Yeah, it's right in itself. In the same way that Z keeps breaking more and more as I keep using it, even though I haven't updated it. I think Z is actually like, has a little LLM vibe coding the damn thing even from the executable. I think my code is doing the same thing, because genuinely, who the fuck told? Where did that come from? And now it worked! And now it worked! Oh, this is incredible! This is absolutely incredible! Oh my god. I'm so happy right now. At this point, I've embraced the madness that is my code. the most ridiculous shit keeps happening at this point. I can either just like get annoyed, or I can slowly go insane over it. Which one am I gonna choose? Well, the one that makes me laugh. That's the one I'm gonna choose. Okay. So, that's way too much for today. There's been some ridiculous bugs today. Oh my god, they've outdone themselves. The bugs, I will need to call like a... What is the name of the bug spray company in Breaking Bad? Vamonos Pest. I'm gonna have to call them. From the insane bugs that we're dealing with in all of these code bases. Which, by the way, you might think maybe the code base is just that bad. No, in the end, the fix is always just like 1 or 2 lines of code. It's genuinely not that bad. It's just a really stupid mistake I made somewhere. That's literally it. Very unlikely that the bug is going to be something major. The only major bug I've dealt with required me to Bro, seriously? Fucking hell, man. Yo. Alright. We good? The only major bug I dealt with required me to make a new allocator entirely and get rid of the one that I had. But, hey. Big deal. Frankly, I could have fixed it. I could have. It was gonna be too difficult, or I was just gonna have to, redo the allocator, and the allocator that I did is just a lot smarter and a lot better. So, yeah. I made the right choice with that. Though I'm pretty sure there's still an allocator bug that I need to deal with. Okay, I'm done. I'm done for today. Holy fuck. I think I wrote some code that may or may not work. I genuinely couldn't tell you. Like, zero certainty inside of me right now whether this code works or not. But the functionality is there. First off, I will be able to continue doing input to the terminal from the little command bar at the bottom. So we've saved the farm. We did it. We've done it. That part of my terminal is going to remain. I don't have to do the boring little, put the input where the output currently ends. Bullshit. That's so boring. No. Input at the bottom. Easy. Simple. I can keep that. So I'm very happy about that. Can't you tell? I dealt with the most ridiculous file name I've ever encountered. I still don't know how that one happened. No, I do know how that one happened. I'm almost tempted to try again. But essentially, there's a run command that tried to run an executable for redacted OS in Linux. And that caused so much corruption that it created a file with an unreadable name. And that broke my entire build system also. And probably several other things that it broke Zed, it broke the file browser, it broke everything. So that was amazing. Now I'm dealing with, an error, not an error, just a little description of the file that I'm trying to open. I just don't know who came up with that description. Who are you? Who are you? Who's this? So that's another bug that we're dealing with now. This print came out of nowhere. I think the computer is actually trying to talk to me. Maybe God is trying to talk to me, like Terry Davis. Maybe that's what it is. So, in the beginning there was nothing, and then God said, "Home D brain code brain.c, C source ASCII text," and that was the editor. You just fully materialized by God just saying that. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not religious, but maybe. Fuck if I know. Anyway. Maybe a message destined to another stream than std out? The problem is who produced it? That message... Who produced that message? That looks like... Look, if it had been stat, if I had actually implemented stat in my system, in Linux, right, and it worked, I would be perfectly happy accepting that maybe it produced this output. But stat is commented out because it's not even implemented, it's not even declared in Linux, let alone implemented. The only file system functions that I have in Linux are read full file and write full file. That's pretty much it. And directory traversal, nothing else. So it's insane. That is the file command. Oh my god. Oh my god, okay, you solved the riddle. You solved the mystery. Holy fuck. Alright, so I must, instead of typing open, I must have typed file. And it executed it in the shell. Which, why are you executing commands in the shell when you shouldn't be doing that? Which shell is executing that command is another question that I have no idea. But yeah, that is the output of the file command. Oh my god. Ah! That is insane. Oh no, I know which shell is executing that for that matter. Which, by the way, like, I need to make my shell configurable. Can spawn CMDs or procs. Right, this needs to be a thing because it won't compile now. Hold on, let me finish writing the boilerplate for this stuff. So the main buffer shell should be able to spawn commands because that's a real shell. The mini buffer shell should not be able to do that. So when the mini buffer gets here, it should no longer try to do this stuff. Alright. Although I don't like that name necessarily. If handle local context... Alright, I'll do this later. Alright. That's enough for today. So, not sure what I'm gonna do on Friday yet. There are a few more things that I need to take care of when it comes to the operating system. Now that we have scripting in Lisp for it, now that we have a text editor that's starting to somehow, apparently, become ready, little by little, it's actually able to edit text. So I want to do font rendering, because if I'm going to be using this thing, I want it to have a nice font. So I may have font rendering soon. Also a 2D renderer in general I want to do, because I want to use it for other things. To continue working in Linux, actually, I want to... well, this is both Linux and redacted. But officially, I am ready to make my system distributed. Now that I have file system in user space, I'm going to have a module that handles communicating with other systems. Even though right now it's only going to communicate through the 9P protocol. So that's another thing that I want to work on. I did a little prototype a while ago for how it should work, but of course my file system is a lot more advanced now, so I'm just going to start over. I did two prototypes, one inside of Redacted OS, one inside of Linux, using Fuse. So those two things are coming up. And that is it. That is it. Although I do have to say, 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 I I consider joining a game jam. Which, if I'm not mistaken, would run through Friday and Saturday. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna join. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna want to stream. IDK. IDK. Again, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna do it. I guess we'll see. Alright. So that's it for now. I'll see you Friday.